Recently, I edited down the video for Droid on the game Still Wakes the Deep. It was a 5-hour-long VOD I did in 2 days, and I was exhausted afterwards, to say the least. It's a unique horror game that takes place on an oil rig in the middle of the North Sea, where a strange creature slowly, after a drilling incident, engulfs the rig. You assume the role of Kaz, a scruffy Scotsman attempting to help your fellow surviving crew members in keeping the rig afloat and escaping from the creature infecting the workplace around you. With its gorgeous graphics showing off such vast details of the murky depths below you, the creepy Lovecraftian monsters that were once members of the staff aboard the Period D, plot that envelops you so well into the world you reside in for the time, and overall the incredible sound design that is mixed in with the vocal performances of actors that did not need to go this hard. And you have a game that I truly fell in love with and actually ended up inspiring some of my purchases on the last Steam sale, so look out for some of those streams coming soon. Developed by the Chinese Room, known for other such titles as Dear Esther and Amnesia, A Machine for Pigs, this team knocked it out of the park, creating a world that truly had me invested as I scrolled through the footage editing. Following the gameplay, it was a wee bit more diverse, but it's not that much of a cog in this wheel of amazement that it offers. However, this video is not a review of the game. Rather, a thought I had while going through the footage that, for the life of me, I couldn't get out of my head. Gears in my brain began rapidly hypothesizing as I attempted further and further to deduce the logic until finally, the answer hit me. That, my friends, is the question of what the hell this thing is. The answer is quite simple. It doesn't matter. Now, I know that feels super unsatisfying and kind of stupid, but let me explain and it'll all make sense, I promise. Let's start with the obvious. If we're being super literal here, these creatures have a large pool of inspiration they are feeding from. For example, the most obvious one being the works of H.P. Lovecraft, a famous author you have probably heard of, but mainly know because of the fact that he created the Cthulhu mythos, but he did a whole load of other sci-fi, horror, fantasy stuff I highly advise you take a look at whenever you have the time. Some of it's a bit more aged with its viewpoints, but it's nonetheless incredible and has inspired countless authors and other media works. One of the most culturally relevant in this field features a shape-shifting creature let loose on a site in an Antarctic science station in the middle of the winter that can perfectly replicate others around it. You know it, you probably have digested it before. That's right, who goes there? Oh yeah, and that teeny tiny adaptation by John Carpenter in 1982, The Thing. This movie and novel actually served as part of the original pitch for the game and atmosphere, along with a load of other movies as well to help create a sense of tension that is executed fairly well. But if we're thinking a bit broader and more literal for the game, we actually are never clued in to what these creatures are attacking the rig. Seriously, go back, play the game, or watch a video on it yourself. There's never a scary name that a crewmate gives them. There isn't some scientist on board that's like, oh, it's the Garbaganches that come from the second level of the volcanic tectonic floor of Xenu, or some shit like that. The crew aboard just think that they have hit some kind of mass. The boss tells them just to drill through the bastard! And bada bing, bada boom, their workplace is overrun with tentacles, tendrils, and tumultuous turmoil. The crew, off-screen I should add, become infected when coming into contact with contaminated oil turned into the weird creatures, and that's the end of that. No one cracks a joke. Comedy has died, and the fear of the situation is played super straight as they are not who they used to be. These former lads and lassies converted into these nightmaric abominations. There is no time to figure out the answer. There is only survival. And I fucking love it, honestly. The fact that we don't get some scene just shoehorned in, or some throwaway line of dialogue originizing these creatures from below is quite brilliant, and to be honest, it's a lot more common of a trope than I realized at first. Look at such films as Edward Scissorhands that don't explain how the ice got into the attic for all of his sculptures and shit, the unclear origins of Heath Ledger's Joker, or how Marty McFly's parents don't think it's a little bit strange that their son looks exactly like the guy they knew from high school that helped them get together and then disappeared for the rest of their lives? Yeah? Of course, none compared to the true master of, what was the question again? Than the movie Groundhog Day. That movie fought strenuously to be as ambiguous as possible with Columbia Pictures, the studio releasing it, as they believed audiences wouldn't be invested without some kind of explanation. They literally forced them to write a bad gypsy curse scene for that reason. Luckily though, the creators of the film were smart and planned for this scene to be filmed last, and since, like most movies, it went over its allotted time to be shot and they needed to make sure they hit their release date, they never did it, and boom! Look at that. It's an iconic piece of media that is truly incredible to watch every year. And you know what it did for this movie? The same thing it does for Still Wakes the Deep. By not focusing on the why, but instead on the story and its characters, the perils they face, the overall journey, it ends up being way more impactful in the end. The deaths of the characters have weight to them since we get to meet them all at the start of the game and get to follow some throughout the runtime of this experience. None, of course, compared to the pain I felt with Roy as we get more and more clued into the connection he and Kaz have, deepening our understanding of why they matter to each other, finally reaching him with the diabetic medication he needs to live, only to find out that our friend, no, the man we loved like family, expired, lifeless, and cold. That scene doesn't hit nearly as much if you create a conversation about the things haunting you on the ship, the origin of the creature, why you hear loved ones sometimes calling to you. All that stuff overbloats and overcomplicates what is a simple story of survival that stands on its own two legs supremely well. By trimming that fat, you get the most realistic depiction of this situation. You feel the pain. The weight is there as you sacrifice yourself knowing you may never see the people you love again, but you know that they are safe. It's magnificent. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say it can never work. There are plenty of pieces of media that feature explanations for situations they present that work really, really well. While not impossible, I feel like more times than not, it can have an adverse effect on the story, take away from moments of impact, and really dull down the vision a creative team may have for the world they are crafting. Sometimes, simplicity is key in situations, and we shouldn't try to search for more. Sometimes there is no answer, and that is a much better way to get a person lost in the world you create. Okay, so this video was random. I originally planned to talk about the Nintendo horror game that just got announced, Mio the Smiley Man, as I was just legitimately blown away by its presentation so far. However, this had been on my mind for a while and my fingers just started to type, and I hope you guys did enjoy this nonetheless. The next video essay style project will be the Skyward Distraction one. I promise it's still gonna come out. This was just another little passion project rant I wanted to give y'all to tie you guys over while I worked on what has kind of ballooned into a slightly bigger project. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more of these types of vids, and I'll see you all next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye!